Hello and welcome to Pride of South London Fan TV. Ali here, bringing you a transfer special on the signing of Sam Johnstone, who we signed on a free, fresh off the back of a very successful spell at West Bromwich Albion. And here to help us digress that transfer is Louis from the Baggies Podcast. Louis, welcome. Fantastic to have you on. How are you? And how's Steve Bruce?
Yeah, not too bad. Thank you myself. Yeah, I think Steve Bruce is okay. He's getting ready for pre-season, and it's been a difficult spell under him last season, coming towards the end of last season where we really did drop out the playoffs and drop towards mid-table championship, but signed some good players in Jed Wallace, John Swift and Iguaita Kujlu. So yeah, looking pretty positive for the season ahead, I think.
Yeah, good. I'd love to chat to you a bit more about Bruce at the end. Obviously, Sam Johnstone had 165 games for West Brom. He also yielded 3 England caps. So he's an intriguing signing for Palace. What would you say his main strengths are?
I think main strength has to be shot stopping. The England performances, I'm sure, are the ones that a lot of Palace fans would have caught more regularly. But he did that on international duty, his shot stopping, and for us in the Premier League as well. I mean, he was incredible during that season that we went up, and he must have saved us probably up around 10 points, I'd say, with these saves he made in games. And boy, we really needed him. We shouldn't have let it get to that point where he's having to make 3 or 4 match saving saves all in one game. I think that's pretty ridiculous for a goalkeeper to have to do. But yeah, he was really impressive during that season. And through the times that he's played in the Championship as well, you've just seen him pull out of the bag at just this incredible saves. Reflexes, reaction time and stuff. It's all top notch for him. So I think that's definitely his main strength. And yeah, I think he's a real professional as well. I think that last season, towards the end of pre-season, just after the Euros, I think we were a bit sceptical about whether he'd come back. And he actually told Valérien Ismaël, our former manager, that he wanted to come back early and continue his training and essentially get back to fitness so he could feature as soon as possible. So yeah, he comes across as a real professional, and yeah, he's a really good shot stopper. I know that you say that about quite a few goalkeepers, but I think that is definitely his main strength. And yeah, shot stopping, he'll be able to keep you in games for sure.
Interesting that you mentioned Ismaël, a former Palace player in the 97-98 season there. I mean, he comes with a lot of pedigree, and he has obviously got great shot stopping, and you're talking about how well he did in the Premier League for you, and he probably will need to do a lot of saves for us at some point. But I mean, the thing is, you're talking there about his attitude and his mentality coming back after the Euros. What interests me about him is obviously we have a number 1 goalie in Vicente Iguaita, who finished the season strongly. Is he the sort of player who will come in happy to sit in as a number 2 Premier League goalie, or do you think he's very much coming to Palace with the intention of, I'm going to try and dislodge Iguaita and become a number 1 Premier League goalkeeper again?
I think he'll definitely want to be number 1 if he can. I'm sure he's willing to fight for it. He's that kind of person. I mean, he was number 2 for a little bit of time last season. Actually, he got sent off against Cardiff City, I think it was, and he ended up being dropped after that suspension for David Button. And I think that's what caused a little bit of a rift between himself and Valérien Ismaël, because he hadn't brought him back into the team, and he wants to be playing games. I mean, it's pretty clear to me that one of his main ambitions is always to be in that England squad. And I think that's one of the key factors in coming to yourselves, is that perhaps he can see himself maybe snatching that number one spot off Iguaita and ending up at the World Cup in December. So I think that would really help him out. But yeah, I'm sure he's willing to sit and fight for it if he has to. But yeah, as I said, the World Cup is a real goal of his, and he's been very vocal about getting there himself. So I think that Palace is a fantastic step towards that, playing regular Premier League football again.
Yeah, I mean, obviously we had Butland in last season. We still have Butland on the books, but I think there's talk of him going on loan, but he's actually got an injury at the moment. But it feels like with Butland, he has an England background, but it was longer ago than Johnstone. It feels like Johnstone's a step up. It will be a very, very interesting battle. I think Iguaita will start as number 1 because, as I said, he finished the season strongly. Also, Johnstone hasn't actually played for us yet because he's got a minor injury. He has come out and said that he thinks he'll be fit for the start of the season. But I think we'll first see him probably in one of the Carabao Cup games. And obviously, that will be his opening to make an impression. It's all been really positive, which is great, Louis. But are there any weaknesses that Palace fans will see arise in his game?
Yeah, I think there are a couple of weaknesses that I think myself and quite a few Albion fans did pick up on. I think his distribution was a little bit wayward at times. I think perhaps that's more down to I'm sort of thinking sort of recent memory. I think in the Premier League it was largely pretty decent, to be honest. But last season there were quite a few times I think Ismail was trying to get him to play into the channels with his sort of goal kicks and balls off the floor as well. And there was quite a lot that ended up in either the East Stand or the Halfords Lane stand, which are either side of the touchline. So yeah, that does worry me a little bit when he's trying to clip. I'm sure that Vieira's a little more. Yeah,
I'm going to come in here because this is going to be my next question. Because obviously with Vieira, he's brought in this new philosophy to Palace. You know, he's taken us away from Roy Hodgson ball. Nothing wrong with Roy Hodgson, by the way. I know he did a good job at West Brom as well. But he's obviously got us passing out from the back, and that starts with the goalie. And the goalkeeper has to be good with the ball at his feet. Is that something you think Johnstone could struggle on?
Potentially. We never really got to see him sort of playing with the ball at his feet. I think we haven't really had the style of play or the manager to do that. I think the closest you'd probably get to that is with Bilic, but I think he quite liked sort of playing it more to the fullbacks, and then the fullbacks sort of start off the attacking moves. But I think with Johnstone, I think with short passing, he should be fine. It's just when he was trying to clip those channels, I think quite a lot of the time it ended up in, off the pitch, or ended up with, an aerial challenge that we were never likely to win. So I think it could be something he struggles with, but mainly I think he'd be okay. I think, Vieira's clearly a very good coach, clearly a very good manager, and I think it's something that can be coached into him. He did have a go at a bit of a sweeper keeper role. I'm not sure if that's something that Vieira would like to implement or has implemented, but he was really flying off his line under Valérien Ismaël because of the high defensive line that we were playing. So that could be something that could be worked on as well. And I think, the distribution, I think, shouldn't be too much of an issue. And I think that he has shown some good signs of that. But as I said, I think probably more down to Ismaël than due to the goalkeeper, that he was having to clip the channel so often when those avenues were often pretty closed.
Yeah, no, I mean, we'll have to see how it goes. I do think it worked against Butland. I say Iguaita's number one, and he finished the season really strongly. There were a couple of iffy performances within the season. Then Butland came in and had a few good games, and you started to think, is Butland going to keep the shirt? But ultimately, it was always Iguaita, and I think one of the big reasons was Iguaita's much more comfortable with the ball at his feet. So it will be something Johnstone will have to add to his game if it's not there. It's definitely going to be an interesting battle this season for the number one shirt. Like I said, I think it will quite rightly start with Vincenzo Iguaita, but I think the battle is going to be even bigger this season with Johnstone because, as you were saying, he seems like a player with a lot of ambition, and we're really, really excited to see him, to be honest, because we haven't actually even seen him in pre-season yet. Bit of a fun question to end on. If you could compare Sam Johnstone to any goalkeeper in Premier League history, who would it be?
See, I had to think about this when you told me that was one of the questions, and I thought, who would I actually compare him to? And I think it's actually somebody who's still playing today. And I'd probably go not necessarily in quality or definitely not of that standard, but he's kind of a bit of a David De Gea with this way that he can really shot stop, and he can keep the ball out of his net all day. But then when it comes to maybe the distribution, perhaps coming off his line a little bit, he can be a little bit vulnerable. But that said, the shot stopping, I think, is enough to keep them in games. And I think, Man United fans will have seen that last season where he's keeping them in games. But then again, what Erik ten Hag is going to want to do is play the ball along the floor and out of the back. So, I think I'd probably compare those two together, not necessarily in terms of quality of goalkeeper, but in terms of their style and strengths and weaknesses.
I'll take David De Gea standard all day long. If that's interesting that you picked him out, though, because obviously Johnstone started his career at Man United, so there might have been a big influence there. So that's really interesting.
Possibly, yeah,
that you picked him out. And also I had a little think, Johnstone and Wilfried Zaha probably crossed paths because Johnstone was coming through at Man United. Maybe they crossed paths when Zaha was there for a very brief spell before they misused him grossly and gave him back to us. That's been brilliant. Thank you very much, Louis. I definitely feel like I've got a deeper insight into Johnstone. Palace fans, what do you think? Leave a comment in the comment section. Do you think Johnstone can challenge Iguaita for the number one spot? Louis, I mentioned Steve Bruce. I think he was harshly scapegoated at Newcastle. He was actually the Palace manager in 2001 before he left us for Birmingham. I thought he was a pretty decent manager. He actually had us top of the league, which is why we're so angry at him leaving. But that's one of the things people say is a bit dated now. But I look at you. You've got a manager with the know-how to get out of the league, which is always important in the Championship. you've obviously got bigger and better resources than quite a lot of the clubs. Are you looking at and thinking promotion's obviously the aim this season? And you start, don't you, though, with a hard game, Middlesbrough away, which is on telly, isn't it?
Yeah, Middlesbrough this Saturday and Watford the Monday following on. So that's it's not a nice start to the season. You know, you look at Middlesbrough probably going to be finishing inside those playoffs, and you'd probably say the same for Watford if they keep a lot of their players. So it's a difficult start, but I think the promotion has to be the aim. It's our last year of parachute payments, so we've got to keep sort of the players that we've got, and we've got to be able to make them work, because, you know, the signings that we've made are probably going to be on quite high wages. But I think promotion has to be the aim. I think we definitely have to be getting in that top six. I think we don't, again, I think that's a real worry with the quality of player that I think we've got now with, you know, Wallace, Swift and Yukushlu as well coming in. I think they're ridiculous players for the Championship. And I think that with those players, I think you've got to be looking at promotion. So yeah, let's hope he can guide us there. And yeah, it's just going to be a nail-biting start, to be honest, with those two games. They're massive.
I mean, Watford will probably have a new manager by the time you play them anyway. So what was I going to say? Thanks very much for coming on. I know Palace fans still retain a massive interest in the Championship. I love the Championship. For me, it's still one of the best leagues in the world. All 24 teams can beat each other, and the playoffs are just so fun. Can follow you. Can't they follow Championship through your West Brom's Eyes through your channel? Let us know a few details about your channel. We'll leave the links in the description of the video. But the Baggies Podcast, you do a podcast. You're telling me you got a YouTube channel as well.
Yeah. Well, firstly, thank you for having me on, mate. But we've got the podcast, we've got the YouTube channel, we've got Twitter, Instagram. It's not necessarily all Albion, to be honest. It's Albion themed, of course, but we do have the odd chat about the rest of the teams in the Championship. So yeah, if any Palace fans want to sort of keep up with the division, keep up with West Brom, then yeah, you're more than welcome to go and follow us. Just the Baggies Podcast, really, on everything. That would be great. Brilliant.
Thank you very much. And you can find the links to those in the description of the video. I'll be back with some reactions to the last pre-season friendly against Montpellier. It's not long now, just over a week to the opening game against Arsenal. Will Ty be crying again when he comes to Sellers Park? Let me know your thoughts in the comments on Sam Johnstone as always. And as always, if you've enjoyed this video, please press the subscribe button.